Alrighty. Welcome to our crazy garage. We are living in madness.
Still in boxes.
Yes, we have everything in boxes still. We're still even living out of our suitcase, so we haven't really unpacked.
Yes, and she has to buy what spoons and hangers
I
again.
cannot find my
Somewhere
dessert
there.
forks.
It's right there. I bet it's right there in that box over there.
I don't know.
All right. So in this case, for a really short update, we did some utilities while you guys were gone. So we did update the water heater. That thing was about 40 years old. You can tell by just the tag. There's a tag on there. It tells the date that was either made or installed. It has actually both dates on it. It went back to about 88, 89. So it was time to go. So we did update it. We had actually a tankless water heater. So we were debating if we were going to do tankless, tanked, a heat pump, just because there's so much money coming back from rebates. But I think ultimately we decided to go with something we knew was the tankless water heater because it worked for us. Additional to that, to stop the scale buildup, and that's something you got to think about. If you put tankless, you got to put either some way to treat it. In this case, we got a soft water just for the hot system.
Water softener.
Yeah, so it wasn't a whole house. I know Caroline wanted a whole house to feel nice and soft and slimy. It's just, I hate that slimy water. But that was really to help to keep that water heater running for the next 15 to 20 years. So. And
you couldn't do the water softener for the cold water because of his plants.
Yeah, so if you're doing a whole house water softener, you're gonna have to have two different lines. One line for the irrigation that goes around the house, and then you need another one just for the water in the house. So our house is a much older house, 1976. So they only really have one line, one main line. Newer homes, anything built in the 90s and beyond, they're gonna have two lines, one for the irrigation and one line for just for the main house. So if you have a newer house, you can put a whole house water softener and not worry about it. If you have an older house, you can actually split your lines a little before the main, so you can have a whole house water softener.
So in the future, we're hoping to move that refrigerator over here, and so that we can have an additional water line here, and that way whoever's working in the garage can still be able to get ice from the refrigerator. And the other utility that we added was a whole house fan. I'll
show you in a minute. I'll show an earlier clip that we have. It is running. It is a, oh good lord, 7,000 cubic feet per minute of air. So it can pull the entire house within about 15 minutes of all this hot air out. So if you don't know what a whole house fan is, basically think about a giant fan, leads to the attic, pumps all the cool air in, pumps all the hot air out. But it's not running. I'll tell you why in a couple minutes.
So yes, so we did that for the first couple of weeks, and to get that whole house fan going, one of the things Tom had to do was clean out the vent, and so he cleaned out the vent, and our son helped him. And so we mentioned previously that this house was dirty, and it was really, really dirty because our son ended up having this rash all over his face, his neck, his arms, basically where there was no clothing that protected him. And we had kind of an issue with him with school also, because the fact that he couldn't turn on his camera because of this rash that was caused to it. So, but luckily he was all better. And then Tom fiddled with the
I'll show you that right now, actually.
The crate again, and then he got a second round of a rash on his chest and his back, but now he's all better again. So
let me show you the two items. So let me show you the vent that we actually fabricated to fit, and the whole house fan in the house, and why it's still not running yet. There's some things that you have to think about when you put a whole house fan that we didn't think about, or actually I thought about it, but I thought it was covered, but it apparently was not in this case. So back to utilities. This is our furnace, pretty new actually, was renewed in 2016. I look for, again, a tag. There's a tag right there, if you notice. Gives a manufacturer date, and the install date should be there. So it's only about 4 or 5 years old, so a relatively new furnace, pretty much efficient. So this was one of the issues my son had. I actually cleaned out that vent. That wasn't there before. That was just a a cover that just covers it. The filter is actually inside that component. What was kind of disgusting is they did not clean out the filter. It had over like 4 inches of dust on it. And that was one indication. They had a filter, a brand new filter, right there. They actually had a filter right there. It was a 16 by 25. It's the wrong size actually. They should have got one size bigger, 18 by 25. But what was really disgusting is down here. So in this vent area, there's actually a box that leads all the way across here. It's a good, I don't know, a good 10 feet by 6 or 8 feet deep, by about 2 feet high. So there's a big box in there. And what's underneath that is actually in a hollow space. And then when it just draws air in and up, they did not have a filter here. They actually had a filter in here. So all this dust particles in the intake get sucked in here. And then I actually cleaned that out. So let me open that really quick. So I fabricated this with a newer, with a newer piece. So that actually has a filter. So this is a 2 filter system. So I have an external filter now. And then I have another filter inside the furnace. So you gotta think about an older home. You gotta make sure not just changing the grate, but actually adding another filter in front. So no dust gets into that second cavity, which is inside here before it goes into the filter. So I fabricated that to make that fit. But it's a new filter, and hopefully my son won't get that rash again. But that's something to think about if you guys are moving to a new home. Try and make sure everything's kind of the HVAC system is hypoallergenic for your family. So we'll look at now. So there's only one. There's another opening on the other side. I actually fabricated both of them to fit. And then we'll just look at the whole house fan and how it works, and then what's still wrong with it. So from the earlier clip we just saw, that day we actually installed the whole house fan, and that just right above right here. There's a switch right there that I asked for. It's a hard switch. It does come with a remote, but the problem with the remote is, with all things, if you lose a remote, you can buy a new remote. So I actually asked them to hardwire it, just because you can't lose it. You can't lose a remote if it's hardwired to the wall itself. So the problem with the whole house fan, let me point out the whole house fan. Let me put this one. So this is something that we didn't expect. Is with the whole house fan, it blows so much hot air out in the house and pulling cool air in. So it pulls in all the stale air in the house, up through the vent and out through the attic. So it kind of cools the house by pulling cool air in. It's that temperature gradient. But the only problem is if there's any vents or any holes in your house, so if there are any holes or inside your attic, what happens is it's going to draw that hot air, that dirty air from your attic into your house. And we found out really quick in the attic, or not in the attic, in the furnace area, when they removed the old furnace, there were actually holes, at least from the top of the attic all the way down to that furnace. So later this week, I'm gonna go put some plywood and then some of that that stuffing to really seal that area, so I can actually turn on the whole house fan. It's basically a, I don't know, 3 feet, actually on that, but it's close to 3 feet. Maybe about, I'm exaggerating, maybe 18 by 18 hole there on the top that leads all the way down. So I'm gonna seal the 2 vents and then cover that hole up. Hopefully that's one of the last holes I can find, or big holes I can find. We can get this whole house fan running. But something to think about if you're gonna put one in. Whole house fan, kind of expensive, but it's cheaper to run. It only costs us about a little under $2,000 to get the whole house fan. But think about it, during cool nights we can turn them on. We don't need to turn on the AC anymore, and it's a nice breeze through that house. So something to think about if you're thinking about being ecological and environmentally friendly at the same time. It's just, you know what? It's a great way to be eco-friendly and cheap at the same time. So something to think about. So until then, I'll update this blog again, And then next time we'll look at the bathrooms that we just kind of did, and look at the closet system and the bedrooms that we're actually painted so far. So I'll talk to you guys later.